Welcome back everyone to another study time with KP. I'm KP and wrapping up some spreadsheet practice today. So let's make it count. Here, the following spreadsheet displays loan history data and books over a 4-year period. So we see in this spreadsheet, there is book ID 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. So just get acquainted with what the spreadsheet contains. First question. In cell B7, write a formula that calculates the total number of loans for 2006. So first, let us find B7, column B, row 7. So we're looking to put something here, right? In B7, write a formula that calculates the total number of loans for 2006. So to find total, we could use sum function, right? And we would sum from row B3 to B6, right? So we're going to sum from B3 to B6. So we have that range, right? Next one. In cell B8, write a formula that calculates the average number of loans in 2006. Average. We have another function that we can use for average, right? And don't forget the equal sign, right? Just like you would type it in the cell in the spreadsheet. So we have a function called average. And average would be, we're going from where now? Let's look at it again in B8. So we'll be writing the average here in B8. And we'd have what? Average would be equal to average. And we're going again from B3 to B6. Because we're doing it for 2006. So B3 to B6. All right, and that would be the average. All right. So I'm just doing this so we can visualize where we're putting these values and what would be there. B6. Okay. So we have our sum here, B3 to B6. That would be what is in this cell. Now the next question. In cell F7, write a formula that calculates the average loans over the 4-year period. So let's find cell F7. Where would F7 be? So this is F, and we're going to 7. Well, F7, right? So we want to find the average over the 4-year period. So the 4-year period here is 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009. And we want to find the average. And average is usually sum divided by the number of items that you're adding. Now, if we perceive that all of the rows from B7 to E7 would have the sum for each year, right? So you would have the sum here, sum here, sum here, and the sum here as well, right? Then if we take the sum of these columns, so we sum all of these columns and divide it by 4, that should give us the average. But we actually have a function that can do that. So we go we use the average function, right? Use up the functions. That would be the most, the most accurate response. So we're going to use the average function, and we're going to go from B7 to E7, and that should give us the average over the 4-year period, right? And that goes into F7. So that would be our, see if I can put that. That would be the answer for F7. All right. A formula must be placed in cell F3. Again, let us identify it. Cell F3. A formula must be placed in cell F3. Where is F3? F3 would be here, right? So a formula must be placed in cell F3 that would calculate the number of loans for book QA 276. Right? It's going to calculate the total number of loans for book. State how you would copy this formula into the cells F4, F5, and F6, right? So if we were going to put a formula in this cell to calculate the total, again, total, we can use the function, the sum function, right, which would be sum equal to sum, and we would sum from B3 to E3. That's here. That's all of these cells here, right, to give us the total, right? And they're saying what the question is asking us for. State how you would copy this formula into cell F4, F5, and F6. How you would copy the formula into F4, F5, and F6. So if you recall, when you click on this cell and mouse over, you will see a little plus sign at the end of the cell. Typically, you will see it right here at the end of the cell. So my answer to that would be to click on the cell, hold down the plus sign, and drag the formula down from 4, F4, F5, F6. So you click on this plus sign, that will come up on the cell, and you're going to drag it. You're going to drag, let me write that. You're going to drag the formula down to F6, and that should copy the formula. So that would be my response to this question, right? Assume that cell G3 contains a value that represents the average number of times book QA 276 was borrowed over the 4-year period, right? So G3, so G is not on this, so we're going to pretend that G is here. And they say that G3, which would be right here, now has an average, represents, G3 contains a value that represents the average number of times QA 276 was borrowed over the 4-year period, right? So this would be average borrowed time. That would be what is stored here in this column, right? And what do we want to find out, right? So we want to know right. So Q3 would be right. G3 would be right here. So the value for this book would be in this cell, right? So they want to find out what? Write the appropriate formula in cell H3 that would state in demand if the average is 50 or greater, and state not in demand if the average number of times borrowed is under 50. So now where we're going now, we're adding another column. We're adding another column, right? So let me fix this. So we're going to have another column. So this column is now going to have something in it, another column, and this is going to tell us, right, whether the book is in demand or not in demand. If the average is 50 or greater, it will be in demand. And if the average is number of times borrowed is under 50, it would be not in demand. So right there, we know we need to use the if function, right? We'll be using the if function. So for QA273, we know it's in row 3, right? So we want to write a function right in H. Need to write a function in H. So let me put some lines so we can visualize better, right? We need to write a function here, right, that tells us whether the book is in demand or not in demand. So that function will look like, we start with our equal sign. So if, remember the if function, you're going to tell the condition, you're going to tell the next parameter be when it's true, and the parameter after that would be when it's false. So we say if we check in G3. So G3 would be where the average number of times would be. So if G3 is greater than or equal to, because it says average is 50 or greater, so it's greater than or equal to 50, right? We're going to put the comma, and then we're going to state in demand. Put that in quotation. And we say that if it's under 50, so we put a comma, so that would be else, that would be when it is false, we say not in demand. And don't forget your quotation marks, right? So quotation. So if you put this in spreadsheets, you wouldn't get an error, right? So this is what they make it bigger for you. This is what the formula would be in cell H3, right? So in H3, we would put if G3 is greater than or equal to 50, put in demand. If it's not, so if it's true, put in demand. And if it is false, we put not in demand. Okay, let's move on. Now, column G shows the number of times each book has been borrowed. So we go back again. G, number of times the book has been borrowed. Outline the steps. So we're going to give some instruction now. The steps you must take to sort the spreadsheet so that the book that has been borrowed the most is placed at the top, followed by those borrowed progressively less often. So when we look at this question, we know that it's asking us to sort, right? We're going to sort the spreadsheet. But what are we going to sort by? It says that we're going to sort by the column G, right? So we're going to sort by column G. And what is the sort order? So when we're sorting, we need to know what we're sorting by. and we need to know what sort order we'll be using, right? So what it told us is that they want the book that has been borrowed the most at the top. So if we put the book that is borrowed the most, that means the largest, because it would have been a number, then we would be going from large to small, largest to small. That is what we will be doing. And that would be descending order, right? So we look at it, right? Normally when we're sorting, what we would do, we would highlight from the column headings straight to the row, the last row that we want to sort, right? I'm just drawing a line to visualize it, right? And we'll make sure we include all the headings. Right? So we'd highlight this range. So we'd go from, so we'd click on the cells and we highlight from A2. So it would be from A2. We highlight from A2 and we're going to what? H6. Right? So we'd highlight from A2 to H6. To H6. And once we've done that now, right, we would click on, so let's write our steps. So highlight or select, highlight, let's say select, data range in cells, data range, and we're going to say that we're going from A2 to H6, all right? Then what would we do next? We would now click on the data tab, right? Once we've select that, we now select sort, the sort option. Select sort, then we're going to select sort by, when the menu comes up, we select sort by the G column or column G and whatever the column name would have been. So in this example, we didn't give it a name. So in that column, we would have had the number of times borrowed. And once we've done that, we also now select set sort the order. So we're going to sort by, and then we'll select our sort order. Largest, so it's numbered. So we're going to select largest to smallest. Or we can say we're doing it in descending order, right? So largest to smallest. If it was letters, we would go from Z to A. So Z to A, right? So we'd set the sort by column G and set sort order, largest to smallest. So that is how we would sort the spreadsheet by column G. That's it for this question. Check out the next video and you'll get to practice more exam-like questions for spreadsheets.